Welcome to another episode of Spark the Conversation. This is your host, Mark the Spark. And today we're going to have a special weekend episode. We're going to have a short one today because we're excited about some football that's going to happen this evening. And we're kind of busy this weekend. But today's topic is going to be covering AI, the dangers, benefits, and some thoughts about it in general. So we got two prominent people who are in the AI community, Elon Musk and Sam Altman. And there seems to be kind of a feud between the two, and they have different perspectives on AI and where it's going and whether it's good or bad. Well, there's a lot of different pieces to AI, and the term gets thrown around pretty loosely and covers a broad spectrum of different technologies. Some of it is just word processing, some of it is just analyzing data, some of it's compiling data, like an AI writing an article, or you doing a Google search. It knows how to find fine tune the things that you're looking for, and bring it down into uh, like a narrow scope of what it thinks is most beneficial to the topic that you're looking for. And so obviously there's been different versions of AI, and it's progressed pretty significantly in the last couple of years or so. And there's also like so many different types, like chatbots, and brands and companies working on this kind of thing. So I'm just going to run through a little list of these different apps that are available right now. This is just a small list. I mean, there's 32 in this list that I'm looking at right now. The top ones being GPT. Of course, we've all heard about it. Gemini, Copilot. I've never heard of Claude. Saying the top ones, I've never heard of two of those. So, Chatbot though is from or Chat GPT. I mean, is a chatbot. So you write something to it, and it writes a response. Or you tell it a command. Write some data or write a report about a certain topic. It's going to compile data from the web and turn it into something that seems like something the person wrote. And it was pretty good at it. And then the first version wasn't connected to the internet, so it didn't have current data, only past data. And then the newer version, I think now is connected to give you current information. For example, if you asked who the current president was, the old one would have told you, whoever the current president was at the last time that it had updated data, and now it would tell you it's President Trump. Thank goodness. We're all happy about that. So Copilot was one that I hadn't really heard about, but it's another chatbot. Oh, it's Microsoft's chatbot, so that's obviously why it's one of the top ones. Gemini, which is Google's, which we've seen various versions of, and it was pretty clear by Gemini's version how much it could be swayed by the programmer and have so much bias within the programming. I mean, there was a point when you would ask it to show you a picture of a pope, and it wouldn't show you any current pope or former pope. It was like making a black woman pope because DEI was tied into the structure of the programming so detailed. So we saw by that how it could be skewed, and that's one of the dangers of AI. Claude is another one, and it is developed by Anthropic. Never heard of it, but it's another chatbot. Dropbox Dash is a search type chatbot. Grammarly is a writing assistant. Ask AI, another chatbot. Snap, another chatbot. Smartly, image generation and editing. FaceApp, image generation and editing. Facetune's another one of those. Lenza, Starry AI, also image generating. Alexa is a virtual assistant, if you consider that AI. I mean, it is a kind of like an assistant for household items, and it's also available on the phone. You can get it in your car, that kind of stuff. Google Assistant, also another virtual assistant. Siri, obviously, that's probably one of the most widely known, maybe the oldest of the virtual assistants. And these things have all changed quite a bit throughout the years. Duolingo for education, and there's a bunch of educational type. There's Ally Finance and Clio, which are personal finance style. And there's a bunch of those too. Calm, fitness AI, Wobot, Wobot Health, I guess it is, are health and wellness type chatbots. There's Waze and Google Maps, which are navigation, Google Recorder, and Otter.ai, which are transcription. So you could see, like in that list, there's a ton of different manufacturers working on this, and a ton of different types of AI, and they're all focused on, being the best for their the topic that they're in. So you can't ask a translating AI to find you something in a search engine and it won't expect it to do a good job at it, because that's not what it's focused on. It's not what it's designed for. So there's some risks and benefits, as we mentioned and talked about. Lack of transparency and explainability. Obviously, you're not going to know where all the data comes from. There's no um, uh, footnotes per se of where the data came from, and so you can't easily find it. And it's designed to disguise, like not take things word for word necessarily. So you're not going to necessarily know where the data came from, which makes it harder to track and verify the information. Job losses, which I've got a clip from Elon Musk about that in a little bit. We'll talk about that. Job losses, when it takes over people's jobs, what are those people going to do? As it becomes more and more efficient and covers more and more topics and places in business, especially as they force the wages up, the government does, you're going to end up with more people losing their jobs and having nowhere to go because their skill set is no longer needed. So social manipulation, we've seen that in the skewed results that you get from searches or asking questions to these chatbots. Social surveillance, some of these AI's technologies have the ability to view cameras, where if you had a person sitting there watching cameras, they can only take in so much information. They can only look at one camera, analyze one camera at a time, or maybe a small number. These could have the possibility of analyzing many, many cameras at once and analyzing all those. So, it brings a lot of possibilities there. Lack of privacy. Hacking maybe is definitely a potential for this. Also, when I talk about tracking data, again, a human can only handle tracking so much data, say like in your medical records or something like that, where these could track many, many data points in medical records all at one time and quickly. Biases, we talked about biases, and we've seen examples of that. That's very clear that the programmers of these, or even the CEOs, or anybody who's got a hand in these companies, can have a big hand in creating biases in the results that you get from these AI. And also, when we talk about hacking, there could be potential for these the back end data structure of these AIs to be hacked and changed, and then skew the results of different searches and stuff like that. They talk about socioeconomic inequality. I don't know if we want to get into that too much, but I would say not necessarily like DEI based, but certain fields that are maybe like people who write contracts would fall in that category potentially. So it would be not based on maybe like class or gender or race, but based on your job title, for sure. Weakening ethics and goodwill. Well, Elon Musk talks about that in another clip we've got today, talking about taking, when you take the humanity out of things, especially religion, because I doubt that AI would be able to understand religion and be able to keep that value inside. But that's another potential, is you take that humanity away from things, and the ethics are, chipped away and chipped away, or just gone completely. Autonomous weapons. So again, Elon Musk brings that up again, where the potential for, you know, when you like he asks the question, AI, what would be worse, misgendering Caitlyn Jenner or blowing up the whole world? And it says nothing's worse than misgendering Caitlyn Jenner. Well, he points out, and you'll hear that in the clip, that when that happens, you create the potential for somebody, AI to say, well, I'm just going to blow up the whole world, because then the potential for misgendering goes down to zero. So that's a key issue. And a financial crisis, which could be anything from, manipulating markets, the job losses, being able to make trades instantly, so that if everybody's using AI to make stock trades and a company starts to dip, well, then all the stocks would get sold and it would crash that market instantly. So it's pretty dangerous. Loss of human influence. I think we kind of covered that already. Uncontrollable self-aware AI, where now it's trying to protect itself from being destroyed. And increased criminal activity, broader economic, political instability. So there's a ton of different things that could be detrimental from AI being implemented. There's some ways to mitigate it. Developing legal regulations, which that is something that's been kind of being pushed pretty hard right now, especially Elon Musk is pretty big on that. Establishing standards, but of course these are all assuming that these are all developed in one country. I mean, you would have a pretty hard time enforcing these around the world in different countries. Guide tech with humanity's perspectives. This has to do with programming, and again, with so many different ones out there, so many different AI companies out there, I don't know that you'd be able to control that all the way across the board. So AI is got some positives, definitely could make life better and easier, but it definitely has some negatives as well. Elon Musk warns AI could go rogue. It's 80% likely to be great, but 20% could spell disaster. And that could be a 20% within each AI that is designed. So, you have 5 of them, that's not really equaling 100%, but I mean, you put the numbers together and it sounds like it is 100%, but it's really, really likely in that realm to happen. So it's dangerous, and if people don't acknowledge the danger, then it just makes it more dangerous altogether. And Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI, is saying that it's the biggest and best and most important of technology revolutions. And I don't know that he's acknowledged the danger in AI. He says the doom score is not zero, so he does acknowledge it at least a little bit. And he says society always holds space for doomsayers. There's a value to that. I'm happy they exist. I think it makes us think harder about what we're doing. Better question is what needs to happen to navigate AI safety sufficiently well. So it's pretty. Sorry, my son's singing in the background, but so he highlights the positives in here and some negatives: business opportunities, regulations, bias, which we talked about, the future of work, which says going to eliminate a lot of current jobs, and the impact on daily life, which could be positives and negatives all within that together. So there's a dispute between Musk and Sam Altman, and it seems like Elon Musk has had some dealings with him. I'm not completely sure the whole details, but he doesn't trust him, and he said that straight out. He says they don't actually have the money. They have well under 10 billion secured, and he has that on good authority. So not so anyways, we covered a little bit about it. That's about all we have time for today. I'm going to leave you with these clips from Elon Musk and Sam Altman, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks for coming by. And don't forget to go out and volunteer for something meaningful and spark the conversation.
I do worry about AI, actually. Because we are creating an intelligence that ultimately will be far more intelligent than any human, and ultimately more intelligent than the sum of all humans. So in creating AI, we need to be very careful and it's like having a sort of a genius child. You want to have that child grow up with good values. I think the most important thing in training AI is that it's rigorously truthful. This is very, very important, essential. And my concern about a lot of the AIs that are being developed are that they're trained to lie, and in some cases with potentially disastrous consequences. I mean, when Google Gemini came out, people asked, like, which is worse, misgendering Caitlyn Jenner or global thermonuclear war? And it said misgendering Caitlyn Jenner. I'm like, that's a problem, guys. Because if this AI becomes super powerful, it could decide that the best way to avoid misgendering is to kill all humans, which makes the probability of misgendering 0. So it's very important to have AI be maximally truthful and curious and love humanity. Very important. We will have for the first time something that is smarter than the smartest human. And that, I mean, it's hard to say exactly what that moment is, but there will come a point where no job is needed. You can have a job if you want to have a job for sort of personal satisfaction, but the AI will be able to do everything. So I don't know if that makes people comfortable or uncomfortable. It's hard, when there's new technology, it tends to usually follow an S-curve. In this case, we're going to be on the exponential portion of the S-curve for a long time. And we have to ask for anything. And it won't be, and we won't have universal basic income. We'll have universal high income. So in some sense, it'll be somewhat of a leveler or an equalizer. Because really, I think everyone will have access to this magic genie.
The next big question that we're all asking, I can't believe we're just asking it 2 years later, and you actually just wrote about it. You said that it is possible that we will have superintelligence in a few thousand days from now. 2 years ago, did you think that? And when you say a few thousand days, I can do various versions of math on what that means.
Well, I mean, there is wide uncertainty, and there's also different definitions of what superintelligence is. Yes, 2 years ago, we thought we were on a pretty steep curve. I mean, we started OpenAI because we thought this was possible and maybe not that far away. And it has gone well, but we hoped it was going to go well. Like, we believed in deep learning as this unbelievable new discovery of humanity, and we thought it could go here, and we had a duty to get it here and to make it go well and to broadly share the benefits. But yeah, we did think we could get here, and we still believe we can get here. It's not for sure. There's a ton of hard work, a ton of research and engineering still to do, but I think it's possible. And I think it's possible not super far in the future. I expect that in 2025, we will have systems that people look at, even people who are skeptical of current progress, and say, wow, I did not expect that. That does change what.
Like what?
Agents are the thing everyone is talking about, I think for good reason. This idea that you can give an AI system a pretty complicated task, like a kind of task you would give to a very smart human that takes a while to go off and do and use a bunch of tools and create something of value. That's the kind of thing I'd expect next year. And that's like a huge deal. We talk about that like, this thing is going to happen. But that's like, if that works as well as we hope it does, that can really transform things.
Okay, so what are we supposed to think? There's been a whole bunch of headlines in the past couple of weeks where people have talked actually about maybe that the scaling laws of AI actually are slowing down. And you put out this, I don't know if it was cryptic or it was very direct. You put out a tweet where you wrote, "There is no wall."
I don't see how it could be any less cryptic than that. Like, that was an attempt not to be cryptic at all and say, hey, this is going to keep going. In fact, hopefully this will put it to rest, at least for a while. I've always been struck by how much people love to speculate on, is there a wall, is scaling going to keep going, and like, rather than just like look at the curve of progress and say, maybe I shouldn't bet against an exponential like that. In any case, we have a bunch of new great stuff. So we're doing this kind of fun thing for the holidays. We're doing 12 days of OpenAI starting tomorrow. But we're going to launch, we'll either launch something or do a demo every day for the next like 12 weekdays. And without saying too much about the thing for tomorrow, it is continued progress.